inviting me up here. Thanks to the folks at Eos who helped me get to where I am with this project. You'll see that I use a lot of the products. And I also have an article written about my work in the latest Park News newsletter this summer. I have a bunch of glossies up here, copies of the articles, so I can hand those out to anyone who's interested. So yeah, my name is Dann Block. I'm the lead gardener at Woodland Park Zoo, located in Seattle, Washington. A bit about the zoo. It was founded in 1899. It's 120 years old. We get 1.3 million guests per year. It's 92 acres sitting atop a hill. I've got a great image coming up, an aerial, that'll kind of show you the landscape. You know, there's a long history of Woodland Park Zoo. It started out as, mainly a public park with some zoo exhibits, and it's evolved into the zoo today. And the land has changed quite a bit, and so has the zoo and its intent and its mission, which I won't talk about today, but I'm going to talk about the physical changes located at the zoo. Another important piece of information is the property itself is owned by the city of Seattle. It used to be run by the city. So we do have some maps and information from back then. It was run in the mid-90s. It switched over to the Woodland Park Zoological Society, which is a nonprofit organization. During those 120 years of evolution, the exhibits have changed constantly. In the 70s, the whole zoo was pretty much remodeled. They go for a naturalistic setting for the exhibits to kind of give you an immersion into the biome that they're trying to represent with the exhibits. Of course, this causes infrastructure adjustments. They pretty much restructure the whole area when they put in these exhibits, and they also find the existing underground infrastructure that gets changed and rerouted. There has been no central GIS at the zoo before I started working there and started this project. But we do have dispersed records in CAD drawings, many of which are from surveys when the exhibits went in. A lot of the rest of the CAD drawings are they just took an aerial imagery and just drew over that. So the surveys are really accurate. The other parts not so much. And then we just got piles of paper maps, hand-drawn maps, old architectural drafts from the 20s and 30s, which are fun to look through, but really hard to piece together when you're trying to figure out where the irrigation shutoff valve is for the break that we have on the side of the zoo. So, and also we're constantly, doing work in the zoo as the gardeners. We're, putting in irrigation, fixing things, digging holes. Our exhibits crew is doing the same thing. And I think in the 3 years I've worked there, we found 2 gas lines that we found by breaking them. So it can be, a little challenging working in that situation. So my project was essentially to build a base map for the zoo that captures our past, our present, and will grow with us in the future. And some of the big challenges we have with that is our tree canopy. It is a 120-year-old park. We have some very large mature trees, and that presents a challenge for accuracy, finding our satellites. And also we've got a lot of exotic animals. Many are dangerous to be around. So just getting into those areas and collecting data is a big challenge. So when I started back in 2016, the zoo had hired a grad student to do a tree inventory. And so the grad student started in 2015, ended in 2016. He used University of Washington GPS equipment. It was Trimble, I believe. Collected over 3,000 tree points with related tree data along with that. And so when he handed that off to us, our project manager had ArcMap, and he also had CAD drawing software. So we put the trees onto that map, mainly the CAD drawing, and we found that some of the trees were in the middle of buildings or in the middle of pathways, or when we put it on aerial imagery, we could see that the tree center was outside of the canopy of that tree. So we knew we had some challenges from the get-go. So I started digging into this. I had a little bit of GIS background when I worked for AmeriCorps doing watershed restoration. So I got myself a nonprofit license, which gave me ArcMap and ArcGIS Online. I took some of the Esri online training courses from their website. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Seattle traffic. It's terrible. And so what I usually do is come into work early to beat the traffic, and I do my paperwork in the morning. So I started working on these modules in the morning. The last one I did was like a 24-hour long module, so I just did it in chunks. It's pretty helpful. It got me going with the software. But when I started actually working with the data, trying to figure out projections and all these other things, I realized I was kind of out of my league, so I took some classes with King County GIS department. They hosted a couple classes from a group called teachmegis.com. It was about 7 days of intensive 8-hour training on basic, advanced, and database management, all with ArcGIS. And so during the whole time I was looking at forums trying to find solutions to be able to work this data. And I came across YouTube videos from Brian Morgan with the Alliance for Public Gardens GIS. And he, with his group, created the Public Gardens data model. And here's a good view from one of my areas where I garden in the zoo. This is, that building right there is the taper viewpoint. And you can see we've got timber bamboo that's 20, 30 feet tall. Just to the right here is a large red oak, and just surrounding that is a lot of large trees. The canopy, I mean, it's beautiful because you can see like a lot of distance through this canopy. It does block satellite coverage when you're in the middle of that. So that was one of our biggest challenge. So real quick, the ArcGIS for Public and Garden data model. I originally found this on the Alliance for Public Garden GIS website, and then I found out that Esri had taken it over, upgraded it to the 2.0 model, which is what I currently use. Just for you guys' information, if you want to look into this, the Alliance for Public Gardens GIS group has taken it back to manage it. And last time I looked, they only had the 1.4 beta up on their website, which is kind of a dialed down version of the 2.0. But I was able to contact Brian Morgan and he sent me a copy of 2.0 to share with some of the interns who are looking to do some work at the zoo. But it's great. It's got all these feature data sets that pretty much give you the full geodatabase to populate a map for zoos and public gardens, which is geared towards. I invite you to check it out. It's really interesting stuff. Really great product. So here's a really good aerial view of Woodland Park Zoo. You can see here this rectangle. That's the zoo. It's in the middle of an urban environment. Downtown Seattle is up above, and you might be able to see the Space Needle right there as well. Again, biggest challenge is GPS accuracy and seeing those satellites. When I first started going out in the field to try to work on this tree data, I put the Arc Collector app on my phone, and the accuracy was terrible. I really couldn't really tell which tree I was looking at based on the app itself, so we knew we had to get a better antenna. Also, like I said, animals in their exhibits, we try not to disrupt them as much as possible. We can work with the keepers to schedule time in those exhibits, but it's difficult, and depending on the day and the animal's temperament, sometimes you just have to plan weeks and weeks in advance and hope you get one date. And also, we are a nonprofit, so the budget was a huge consideration. So some of those solutions we came up with is obviously I knew we wanted to use Collector app to do our field work. Already have the license. The great thing is what you do out in the field, you can submit it right to ArcGIS online and then go into the office, download that into ArcMap, and do whatever heavy editing you want to do. Instead of using my own personal phone, the zoo helped me acquire an iPhone 8, which is kind of a largish phone, fits in your pocket, which was important to me. I wanted to be able to stuff everything in my pocket to walk through the bushes or navigate some of the landscape that we have. It also worked really well with the Esri products and also the Eos products. And actually we got pretty lucky picking the iPhone because everything kind of worked out with all the pieces of technology we pieced together for this. So I did a little research. I knew we had to get an antenna. We ended up picking the Arrow 100 GNS receiver. It's a sub-meter antenna. We knew we didn't need centimeter accuracy. It also fit in our budget really well. We also didn't want to have something we had to pay a subscription for, so this fit really well for that. The budget we had was pretty much a one-time part of the major maintenance monies, so we knew, once we bought this thing, this was pretty much all we were going to get. And in the research that I did, we're looking mainly at tree canopy cover and being around large buildings and things like that. The Arrow 100 had good reviews on being able to get accuracy and precision under dense tree. And when I first started this project, there was no laser offset technology that could pair with the devices that I had. Luckily, I spoke with Eos, and they came up with a solution to work with the TruePulse 200X. which works with the iPhone products. And so I was able to find a solution for laser offsets, which was really important for getting this project going. I was kind of stuck in some of our areas of dense canopy cover. I wasn't getting good location data, even with the Arrow 100. Yeah, and the greatest thing about that too is I can take location points in the animal exhibits around the edges of moats, which I was really nervous about with all this expensive equipment, dropping it into the moat. Especially you could think we have primates by these moats, water gets kind of nasty. And then we also purchased the True Pulse Foliage Finder lens. So this thing's awesome because it's a lens you put on the laser rangefinder and it only receives signals back on reflectors. So all the foliage, the leaves, the sticks that were kind of being blown in front of my my range finding would always throw off my shot. So I was spending a lot of time, trying to find that sweet spot in between the bushes. With this foliage finder lens, I can, I got my reflector, I can tie it off on a tree right above the irrigation box I want to capture, and I can be 30 feet away and capture that. And we use range offsets with the Eos Tools Pro app that came with the antenna. So here's our final base map solution. Again, we use collector for ArcGIS, iPhone 8, Arrow 100, True Pulse 200X rangefinder, the foliage finder lens, the ArcGIS Parks and Gardens data model, and also we purchased an Adir Pro 5-meter telescoping survey pole, which I find helps quite a bit in getting an antenna up above fences, buildings, up above the tree foliage canopy just a little bit better. I'm pretty happy with that. We put a bipod on it so I can actually set it up, stand back, do my work, not worry too much about it tipping over. And here's a view of pretty much where we are currently at with the base map. My area is right here. You can see I've done the most work. And what I do is I go out and I capture the polygon at the edges of the garden beds, and then I can go back in the office and populate the paths that are in between those garden beds. And once we get the base map, I can go back and put fences, buildings, and all that sort of stuff. And the little red dots are all the trees that we had from the tree inventory. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. So this is my pretty much rundown of that workflow. First, check the weather. Even though these devices are weather resistant, I'm not going to be taking this out in heavy rain. I'd rather go prune the bushes and things like that. So again, collect the polygon on the outside borders. And once I have the garden beds, I populate the paths, download the web map after every event. It's really easy to accidentally pick up a polygon and shift it. So it's always nice to back that up on ArcMap. And then again, we've started populating the base map with utilities and infrastructure because one of the things I didn't mention is a lot of our knowledge of the underground infrastructure is in the institutional knowledge of our workers. And we've been fortunate to have workers who've had their whole careers with us, but now they're all starting to retire. So one of the gardeners who just recently retired, 1st of July, we went out and captured all his irrigation box locations, which weren't on any map, accurately at least. The next step I'd like to do is add hyperlinks to all our CAD drawings, as-built maps, and images of the hand-drawn maps, which we have digitally collected on our servers. And then, again, go back to update the initial tree inventory from 2015. Again, the results I've got, probably have about 15% of the zoo. I did a little more work since that last image. We have sub-meter base maps, which are more than adequate for our uses. I'm hoping to have all the facilities and horticulture team have access to these maps on their mobile devices. Also the public, once we get it put together, we'll have an addition for the public to look at. And then, the animals not being disrupted, which is a big plus, makes me look good with the keepers. And then eventually I would like to have a public garden map put together with actual more information on the plants that we do have at the zoo. And we're probably going to get some interns, hopefully in the next few years, to come and collect that data for us. Here's my contact information. Again, I've got copies of the article, and you guys can find me on LinkedIn.